Proudly presented by Pence Homes and part of the Hitting the Hardwood podcast network. This is Link's Happy Hour. Hello, hello. Welcome back to this episode of Link's Happy Hour, the podcast where Link's basketball is always on special. I'm really excited about today's episode, and we're going to get right into it. I am joined today here live, well, not live, but a few days ago, now presenting the Hall of Famer, the one and only SEIMONE Augustus. SEIMONE is here to chat about the SEIMONE Augustus Hall of Fame game this Saturday at Target Center at noon Central Time, tipping off at high noon against the Los Angeles Sparks. There'll be a pregame ceremony honoring SEIMONE Augustus being inducted into the Hall of Fame. She is a Hall of Famer in every sense of the word. For 6,000 fans, I believe, get the custom SEIMONE Augustus Hall of Fame banner, similar to what they did for Maya Moore's jersey retirement last year. It is a perfect giveaway, perfect thing for a wall in your office, in your garage bar, as it's hanging in my house. It's gonna be a fun day. And SEIMONE, we get into some of those old stories, battles between the Lynx and the Sparks from her career, and she shares her thoughts on this team as well. Full disclosure, it was Monday morning when SEIMONE and I talked. So the Lynx were 9-0 at the time. They, of course, lost to Seattle on what is last night, Wednesday, to fall to 9-1. But so for purpose of my conversation with SEIMONE, the Lynx were undefeated at the time. And then after that, Mitchell Hansen, my partner on the Hitting the Hardwood podcast network, joins me to talk about the loss at Seattle and looking ahead to Saturday's game against Los Angeles Sparks and some other stuff. It's a lot of good stuff. So let's all get to it. I'll shut up and give way to the one, the only, the incomparable, the undeniable Hall of Famer, SEIMONE Augustus. Link's Happy Hour. Thanks for being here. This episode of Link's Happy Hour is brought to you by Pence Homes. The team at Pence Homes has experience working with first-time home buyers, folks selling their first home and buying their next place, to people looking to downsize. With the best tools, technology, and trusted vendors to help with any home project, Pence Homes is a top choice for buyers and sellers. For more info and to set up a time to meet with Nate and the team to talk about your home buying or selling needs, visit PenceHomes.com. That is Pence, PentzHomes.com. A very exciting day here on Link's Happy Hour. For the first time in the brief history of the show, we are joined by someone with their name and their number on a banner in the rafters high above Target Center. And as of this Saturday, that banner will be stamped with the magical words Hall of Fame, which we are very excited about. And I could read the rest of the achievements as well, but that would take up all of our time. So I'll stop there. And I've, of course, joined, kind enough to spend time with me this morning, is SEIMONE Augustus. SEIMONE, how are you? Thanks so much for taking some time today.
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
For sure. All right, let's start with this weekend. We have been fortunate enough to have seen you kind of a lot over the past few years. There's been a lot to celebrate with the all 25 team back in 2023, Sill's retirement celebration ceremony, as well as Maya's last year. And now we get a chance to celebrate you going to the Naismith Hall of Fame in your first year of eligibility. So just how excited are you to be back in the house this weekend, and just what are you most looking forward to?
I know I'm always excited to come back to the Target Center. It's definitely a time to reunite, with my fellow teammates, all the people we mentioned before, Waylon, I know still this weekend will be getting inducted into the Women's Hall of Fame.
Mhm.
Maya's Maya. But anytime we get a chance to come back together, Maya's always hiding out on us. So anytime we can get her out of the house and back into the Twin Cities, it's always great. But then it's also an opportunity for us to get to see the current team and just kind of be around them and immerse ourselves in what they have going on now. So as well as, enjoying the fans and enjoying this great environment that has been created, over the last 15 years that we've been doing it. So it'll be great to see some familiar faces.
For sure. And that's something that the Lynx always are very clear about doing is keeping players connected to the organization, that like your connection to the team and part of the Lynx family doesn't end with retirement. Just how important is that as a former player to have been a part of an organization that holds events like this to keep you coming back, or at least make sure that that invite is open and always there.
Right. Being on the other side now and hearing so many people, especially legendary players, like, looking to get their flowers and, wanting to feel like they're a part, it feels good to be, a part of an organization who literally takes pride in that. Like, if you've been here, you helped build the foundation, they're going to make sure that they always celebrate you. They're going to always talk about their history and use that history to push the needle forward, for the next generation of players. And it's kind of like, we've set the foundation of who the links are, what they're going to be, and how we're going to move forward. And that is always good to be celebrated. Every time it comes around for times like this when you see the links are now back, and
Yep.
you looking at you looking at the way that they're playing and what they're producing on the floor. You can only think about the glory days of what was started years ago.
And through all those glory years and pretty much as long as the Lynx have been around, they've been very intentional about using sport as a vehicle of change. And this is, of course, not just one game on a summer Saturday, but also part of the Lynx outreach during Pride Month. And I know you'll be going to the Pride Cultural Arts Center while you're here, meeting with some youth in the area. You lived in this community for a long time and grand marshaled a Twin Cities Pride Parade yourself. Just how important was it for you to make sure that this occasion wasn't just like a one-day thing celebrating the Hall of Fame, but also celebrating Pride during in the Twin Cities during the month of June?
That's the beauty of being with the Lynx. When they reached out, it wasn't just about the Hall of Fame. It was like, what do you want to do? What are you involved in? Have those things that you were doing when you were with the Lynx, have they changed? What can we add? What can we take away? And so I've always done things with the LGBTQ community, as you've spoken about, being in the parade, being around whenever we didn't have a game. I'm at the, festivities and just being like a voice. Throughout my time with the Lynx, I grew courageous enough to be able to express myself, and that helped move the needle forward when people talk about marriage equality and so on and so forth. So, Minnesota for me is kind of like the foundation of me even finding my identity as a person, and to be able to come back during Pride Month and also be able to share some words and hopefully, provide some comfort for, some high school kids that are going through a transitional period in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
It's always great to be able to have those monumental moments.
For sure. I do have to ask about the opponent this Saturday. I don't know how intentional it was to have it be a Link Sparks game, but
Yeah.
it's very appropriate that it is. When back through your career, the Lynx and Sparks gave us some of the best, most iconic postseason basketball that we've seen. Kind of what like comes to mind when you think of those heavyweight fights between Minnesota and LA through those years.
I know. It's literally funny. I was just speaking to somebody yesterday and they brought up the 16-17. Like everyone always brings up that final series and they're like, what was that like to be a part of it? And I'm like, I don't think people would really truly understand unless you was actually like in the moment. I know the fans enjoyed it, but when you think about the basketball, the player, the coach, we're all out there. We basically played ourselves because the LA kind of stacked up with us as far as the roster coaching with Brian Agler, like him and Cheryl was going back and forth with the things that they knew about each other. So, when you think about the perfect basketball game where it was like the two opponents matched each other equally, and now it's just a game of wits at this bit, at this moment, who can outwit the other team and
Right.
just out determine and outwork the other team. That's what that was about. But it was an amazing moment. That was probably the most amazing moment in our finals runs, because I got like one moment, I keep telling this story. I'm like, I got one moment to look up in the stands and somebody was like behind a beam. But they were in the building
Right.
and you
Yeah.
like people around like, yay. And it was just like they needed to be in there. They needed to feel that. They needed to see that. And for me, when I think about hearing Paige and Caitlin and so many other players, it's like I grew up watching the Lynx and I grew up watching the series and all this stuff, and look at how they're impacting the game. So you think about how impactful that was and the fun that you had, and how you were
Mhm.
able to change lives and just create a beautiful environment for women's basketball.
Yeah, that last game in 2017, like as much as I love Target Center, there is just something about, old
Oh,
buildings on, college campuses. I wasn't behind a beam, but I saw people who were. It really, I don't think I've been in a place that's louder than that gym was on that night.
I know. And Waylon warned us about that. She was like, if we get the game back to the barn, it's going to be amazing. And I'm like, I only played in the barn one other time when LSU came up to play the U of M. And I don't know if it was quite as loud, but that night, it really, the essence of the barn was like, I
Yeah.
understood. I understood.
For sure. And that goes into a question for sure wanted to ask. On Media Day, we got to chat with both Lindsay and Rebecca about that 2017 finals and how, the way 2016 ended, just how eerily similar that must feel to all the Lynx who are on the team last year, which is a lot of players on this year's roster. And just kind of the question on everyone's mind was, how do you let a finish like 2016 uh, inspire you and be used as fuel in a positive way without consuming you? Because it feels like that's a pretty fine line. And I just wanted to see what your take on that was.
I think, because we had been on a string of wins. We knew how to bounce back. That we knew how not to let the year before affect us and how to come back. Um, but it's still very tough because you want to jump right into the video. You want to jump
Mm-hmm.
right into what did I do wrong? What could I have done better? Things like that. And it's almost like you need to take that little breather. But you have it in the back of your mind. That motivation is there, like regardless, it's gonna be there and you just waiting. And for us, it's almost kind of eerily working out the same way where 17, both of us started undefeated, didn't we? Like both of
Yeah,
our teams started
it was.
undefeated, and then we met each other undefeated. We broke their streak in LA, and then they came back and broke our streak. I don't know if that's going to happen for New York and us this year, but we always kept an eye on them. After that, we were like eyeing them. When the season started, we knew what our goals were, but we was looking over at the Sparks like what they over there doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I laugh about it now with some friends that played with the Sparks. I remember they had one game, and it was one play they had where they moved the ball. I mean, the ball moved about 6 passes before they got a shot. And we were just like sitting in the living room, like, okay, we're gonna see them. You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
you could tell they were playing great basketball. So we was like, if they keep playing like that and we keep playing, we're gonna see them again. And so it worked out that we saw each other in 17. And it was so funny. This was before the private jets now that they fly, and we used to have to fly commercial flights.
Uh-huh.
We ended up flying on the same flight together because there was no other flights
Um,
to get back to Minnesota.
yeah.
And some of the players had to sit in the same row, exit rows and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
we were just like, nobody's talking to each other. Nobody, we ain't yeah, like we ain't sharing no armrests. We ain't doing nothing. Everybody
Right.
just like, yeah. And so I remember when we got back to Minnesota, our fans are amazing. So they're
Mhm.
waiting their baggage claim for us, and they chanting our chant like "Let's go Lynx, let's go Lynx." And I think the Sparks thought we set that up, like for them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, our fans are just awesome like that, and they
Right.
understand the severity of the situation. Like
Right.
y'all not leaving here with a win. Like it's just not happening. And
Mhm.
so, it's that moment, but. I love the way the Lynx are approaching this year.
Right.
I love the way I know they eyeball in New York. I know they hear the noise, they hear the undefeated and everything, but you can tell that they're more focused on what they need to do
Mhm.
in order to be the best team they can be right now and build on that to get where they want to get, which is back to the finals.
For sure. Oh my, that's an amazing story. Do you remember who you were sitting with on that flight?
I
Or-
don't remember, but I
Okay.
just remember like our big girls. So like Big Seal was sitting
Yeah.
next to Candace, and like the exit row was where the armrest battles was
Yeah.
going on. Yeah.
Right.
So
I'm so happy that the league finally got it right when it came to charter travel and that players today get what players like yourself pushed for so long and get to travel in the way they should. But that is an incredible story. Two teams in the finals on the same flight, going back and forth. And I would wish I could have been there to see the sparks walking through all the Lynx fans at the airport. Well, that's another thing I wanted to chat with as well. Like, because now, as we're talking on Monday morning, the Lynx are 9-0. It's the fourth 9-0 or better start in franchise history. There's only been 8 9-0 starts in the league's history. Lynx have half of them. The Liberty may very well make that 9 by the time this podcast comes out if they win on Tuesday. But just in a league that's this competitive, what is the challenge like early in the season to just like keep stacking wins? Because there's such a long road ahead, but you can always tell like the talking heads and studio shows will try and kind of quantify like, oh, they're undefeated because of they played this team, or they're undefeated because of this. And it's like you can never be 9-0 by accident or because of some easy pass. So just kind of what is that challenge like, and what do you remember from all those hot streaks that you guys started different seasons with?
Yeah, we had a different focus. I mean, they both of the teams that are undefeated coming off the finals run. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a high no matter what. So you want to just kind of continue that high once you enter the season. I would focus on because we played, we didn't play as many games. So we had it broken down, or at least Coach Reeve had it broken down to it's like, all right, if we can get off to a hot start and win our first 10 or 11 games. That's you thinking about people rosters. People are still trying to figure out who's starting, who's playing, how many minutes, this and that, trying to find out their offensive identity, their defensive identity. So while they're trying to figure that out, think about the Lynx haven't made any changes too much to their roster, like to their core. Let me put it like
Right.
that. And the same with New York. Their core is still the same. So they already know what to do, when to do it, how to do it, the schemes, the systems, all that stuff is kind of already ingrained and ready to go when other people are still trying to figure this out. So if we can jump on them right away and get some wins, regardless of if, like you say, most people like, oh, well, it's a weaker schedule because you're playing. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You got to hit the road running. And both of these teams have figured this out at this point. It's like, all right, we got the advantage. We really just kind of changed a few of our essential players, from off the bench, but our core group is ready to go. So let's go. And so we would always do that. We would try to start 10, 11 in a row. By the time you lose your first game, you well ahead of everyone else. So you got a little cushion to kind of make a few missteps here and there, but you well ahead of where you wanted to be. So during
Mm-hmm.
our time with the playoffs, the first and two, the 1 and 2 seeds got the buys and all this.
Mm-hmm.
So we were looking like we're trying to get a buy at the end
Right.
of the year so we can just kind of wait to see who we're gonna be playing. It's a little bit different now, but the same mindset applies when you think about resting your players at the end of the year and getting them prepared for that long stretch of playoff runs.
Mm-hmm. And I think another part of the discourse during your run and all the championships and stuff was at some point when this starting five is gone, all these Hall of Famers, there will be a rebuilding period. And I
Mhm.
know Cheryl never gave that much much credit, and nobody told Nafisa Collier that that was the plan, and that's certainly not the plan.
Right.
As Fee had the team back within the finals and just her second year as the team captain, and now playing the way she's playing right now and has the team humming. Kind of what has been your takeaway in watching the growth in Fee's game and also just the Lynx in 2025 in general.
I mean, for me, like in my last few years in the league and with the Lynx, you could kind of see, like I was advocating for P to be rookie of the year, you know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? So you could see it happening, and it was just a matter of time before they figured it out. Like you saying, rebuild was going to happen, but they never really acknowledged the rebuild. They was like, we rebooting
Mm-hmm.
because you already had your centerpiece, which was Nafisa. Now you got to find the people that kind of work well and complement her, and those players found their way to the Lynx, the Courtney Williams, the
Mm-hmm.
Heidemans, the Bridget Carltons, all the players that are very good players but unselfish. They're, teamwork, work hard. They are very smart players when you watch how they play. Minnesota reminds me, people always say, like, when we're watching the game with my team now, and they're like, but they're not that excited. And I'm like, why? Because they don't jump out the gym. I'll say, we're like the San Antonio Spurs. We're going to slice and dice you. We're like going to dissect you. We're going to get to what we want no matter what. We're going to cut, we're going to screen. And now they see the game in a different way. So when I sit down with the girls now, they're
Mhm.
like, I see it. I see it. You don't have to be able to run super fast to make the right move, the right read off of your teammate. And I said, that's how we play basketball. That's how the Lynx has always played basketball. And now we have a great group of girls who understand that. And, you could tell they just having fun out there. It's just a
Yeah.
matter of time before, it clicks and they go on their runs. Defensively, it's just exciting when they feed off of that defense and get that offense going. So, I'm super excited to see Fee playing some of the best basketball, like 50, 40, 90. That is
Right.
crazy as a post player, just as a player, period. But a post player that's so versatile and that's on the outside, inside, having a 50, 40, 90 year right now is amazing.
Right. Cheryl's mentioned it a few times that during Fee's rookie season, there was, all kinds of like sort of things that happened like in the locker room where it was apparent that Fee's built different. Fee has a maturity and a wisdom beyond her years and just has leadership capabilities that, can't really be taught. And she just had them. I know you only got to play with her for that, rookie season. Did you sort of see that same thing? Like, was it clear that like this is someone who's going to be a leader in this game for a long time?
Yeah, she was very mature. I mean, that rookie season, the argument was about whether, Enrique should get it because I think she had a string of 30-point games. But then when they made the argument about Fee, they said she had Tamika Catchings' numbers.
Mhm.
And I'm like, so you telling me a rookie has legendary numbers? Like Tamika Catchings is a Hall of Fame player. And they like, well, she's on track to do some of the things that this player has done. And I'm like, that says a lot. That speaks volumes for the type of player she was at a very young age, or, in the league, her maturity as a leader. When I was there, obviously she was still looking and kind of watching us, me and
Mhm.
Sylvia, to see how we were leading the girls. And I think she just kind of took a observative approach to that. But now I can see she really was paying attention
Mhm.
because she is a vocal leader, but also she really leads by example more than she does vocally. But you can tell that when she does speak, her teammates listen. And that's the beautiful thing about it because she may not have to say a whole lot because of how well she leads them with what she does on the floor. And you can see that she allows other people to be themselves. So
Mhm.
Courtney can be the Courtney she needs to be, whether
Yeah.
she's the jokester off the court, whether she's the person that's like rah rah on the court.
Mhm.
She allows for everyone to kind of be who they need to be and express themselves in order for them to be successful, which is a sign of a great leader as well.
For sure. I'm glad you mentioned Courtney because earlier this year, one of Washington's rookies, Lucy Olson, was asked who she models her game after, and without being prompted, Lucy mentioned Courtney and like how her like mid range game is kind of what she wants to model her game after, and if she can play like Courtney, then like that would be a dream come true for her. I asked
Mm.
Courtney about that, and she said, I want to be known as one of the most lethal mid range players ever. So I'm happy, to hear people say that about me. But I've got a ways to go to catch up with Simone. Um, and so what is it? How does it feel when like current players who are still playing are kind of honoring your legacy in that way with the way that they carry themselves and play on the court?
You know what? They would never tell me that when we was playing against each other, but it feels all the years she was in Connecticut, she never said it. But no, it feels good because as soon as we got her on the links, I was like, oh, we got our mid-range player.
Mhm.
Like you know now, well, but I've been in the system, so I'm like, all right, we need us a heady point guard. So now we got Heidemann, that's Waylon.
Mhm.
Courtney is me. She gonna tell you what with the mid range, Bridget gives you some Maya feel. She can come off some screens. Carly Samuelson give you come off of some screens, hit some threes, stuff like that. You got the inside presence with Shepard and Nafisa. I'm like, the team is here. But when you think about Courtney and her attack and her just being like, I want to be like money, she knows how lethal that is. Like we
Mhm.
know how important that is to be able to hit those mid-range shots. I'm so proud every time I see her come off of a pick and roll, mid pick or something like that. And I'm like, I'm in the house like, pull up. And as sure as I say it, she like 1-2 dribble right into it. And it's the most beautiful thing because it opens up the floor for so many other people when you're able to get off and get your shot. But just to see how fluid she is and how comfortable she is in the system, it really makes me feel proud.
For sure. Well, and speaking of that game, yesterday, as we're talking on Monday, the Lynx beat the Wings in Dallas on Sunday. Courtney had some kind of calf thing in the first half, sat for the entire third quarter, and we had no reporting yet on what it might be, and then we saw a cutaway to Courtney clearly arguing her way back into the game, and was able to go back out there for a few minutes. And it was like Courtney's back out there, boom, 2 assists to Fee on back-to-back possessions right away. Did you ever have to argue your way back into game with Chuck and Cheryl at all? Is that something that ever happened? And kind of like what are those conversations like?
Well, no, I never had to argue. If I was like hurt, I was really hurt.
Right.
Anything other than that, like a strain or pull, I didn't even worry Chuck about that because you know what I'm saying? I was going back out there. I didn't, but no, I never had too many arguments. But Chuck, he's on his job. Like even if you argue him down, he's checking time, score, what's
Mhm.
going on in the game. Like, is it needed for you to go back out there knowing that you have so many other games left? Like I always felt comfortable. I felt safe knowing that they were never going to put me in a position where, I'll be at risk of not being able to play later.
For sure. All right. Well, Simone, that's what I got for you. Thank you so much for
It
taking
was
some
easy.
time with me today. Really excited to get the chance to see you and celebrate you with all the fans this weekend. And yeah, we'll see you at Target Center.
Thank you. Thank you. I can't wait to see you all.
For sure. Thanks, Simone. I think the hallmark of any great teammate is someone who puts their colleagues in good positions, in winnable positions. And Mitchell, my esteemed colleague at the Hitting the Hardwood podcast network, host of Hitting the Hardwood with Mitchell Hansen. Today, Mitchell, I have you following Simone Augustus on the show.
That is a
So
tough follow-up.
it is a tough follow up. I'd say it's a tough challenge, one that I believe in you to tackle, and I have every faith in you. Today, I think the description of the show will just be Simone Augustus, followed by Simone Augustus enthusiast.
Yes, absolutely. She honestly, Simone is probably well, she might be right up there as my favorite personality and athlete that I've covered and been around. She is phenomenal.
For sure. You've interviewed her a number of times yourself, and I know we will both get the chance to chat with her more
Mhm.
this weekend when she's in market. Do you have a
Yeah.
favorite Simone Augustus moment? Not to put you on the spot.
Actually, so back in 2017, and I'm gonna give he used to be the Lynx PR associate. He is now the PR, one of the PR workers for or a part of the PR team with the Timberwolves. But my buddy Aaron Freeman, he he was the Lynx PR associate at the time, and I will never forget one of the first times when I was working for the Lynx in 2017. Simone Augustus was coming to it was a media availability, and she was coming over to the media scrum after practice, and or she wasn't coming up to us, but Aaron Freeman went up to her and said, "Hey, it's your turn or whatever to go to speak to the media." She literally ran away from him, and he had to chase after her at practice, all around the practice facility, into the weight room, into the their back area where all the players are, and it was one of my favorite moments because that's exactly who Simone is. And then she came into the media scrum and she was her normal awesome self when it comes to interviewing or just kind of her sound bites that she provided. But that's just Simone. I mean, she's a goofball, but yet she is also all business, and she is one of the greatest we've ever seen. So she's awesome.
Right. One of those people who can be adorable goofball and ruthless
Yes.
assassin
Yeah.
at the same time.
Absolutely.
So very excited to celebrate her this weekend. Unfortunately for the Lynx, the last night, as we record this bright and early on Thursday morning, to make sure we got as up to date reactions as possible. For the first time this season, no celebrating after the game. The Lynx are no longer undefeated, 9-1 overall now, falling for the first time at the expense of, or in part because of the Seattle Storm, who came away with the 94-84 victory in Seattle last night. Emotions were running high in this one a bit. I think this is actually a pretty good game, start to finish, a very interesting game, lots to chew on. What was kind of your big takeaway from the first loss of the season last night?
Honestly, it was, it's been kind of a, I mean, and now they rank one of the top two or three defenses in the league, but it's kind of an ongoing thing with the Lynx that now when you're picking apart a team was at the time 9-0 and now 9-1, when you're trying to pick something that is maybe a flaw, it's hard to do because they're obviously playing well and that has resulted in their record. But the defensive side, there are still some holes. They haven't played their best defensive game really all this year. And that was just kind of they just kind of ran into a matchup with Seattle that Seattle was just shooting the ball really well, especially early on. The Lynx were too, but they couldn't catch up. They couldn't limit the run specifically in the second half. It's just giving up those lengthy runs. Now basketball is a game of runs in general, but giving up those lengthy runs that Minnesota has over the last, I don't know how many, well, basically over the last 10 games, they've done it on a few different occasions, but they just got to try and limit those. They got to limit the turnovers, the mistakes on their own end. And I think that will result in them coming out on top more often than not, as we've seen. But specifically with this loss to Seattle, I think it's just more so of you just ran into a hot team, and Minnesota just couldn't do enough. I gotta say, and I know that Marty Gellner and Libby Olson mentioned this on the broadcast last night on FanDuel Sports Network, but Kale McBride at the end of that game,
right,
seeing the emotion come out of her, we have not seen that in a while, if at all, really, in Minnesota. I mean, she's always kind of have a fire, but to have that kind of response, she something happened, obviously, but we haven't seen that, and that just shows how much it means to them, how much this season means to them, and it's been that way since day one for the Lynx. They're motivated. They want to, take it to every team on every given night, and they want to truly finish 44-0. But obviously, that's not going to happen. But that's the mentality of this team, and that's a good thing to have, especially early on in the year. One thing that it was, I think it was a positive to see is, the Minnesota's success from deep that kept them in the game most of the game when Seattle was going on some runs, but specifically Kayla McBride and Bridget Carleton, they were playing phenomenal and shooting the ball phenomenal. And that's something that will come up in key moments and will be huge in key moments. And will, more often than not, when you have a game like that, Minnesota's winning the game.
Yeah.
But it was a case of, like I said, running into a hot team, and a loss had to happen at some point, but get it out of the way and keep moving forward, I guess.
Yeah, Seattle is, you meant they were incredibly hot last night. It's also a tough matchup for any team. I think they present a challenge for the Lynx, though, in general, because the Lynx are not one of the bigger teams in the league. Seattle's length was clearly a strength for them last night, especially with Malunga now, catching up more and more. And then you just, pair her with players like NECA and Ezzy. They were very good defensively and inside last night. Well, I'm glad you mentioned the end of the game, because let's talk about the end of the game. It was that kind of dominated the immediate, post game, conversation around this game, even though there was quite a bit to talk about. But so 91-84, the Storm now possessed the ball without the shot clock, with the shot clock turned off. Erica Wheeler gets the ball and goes on a fast break to a layup, and McBride wasn't too happy about it, fouls her, layup goes in, and a little bit of a dust up after. K-Mac got a technical, and both teams kind of, went back and forth a little bit. Nothing too crazy. And if you like rewatch the replay, you can see Skylar Diggins behind Wheeler, like pointing at the basket, kind of like signaling, like, yeah, go, go, go. And that, whether it violates an unwritten rule or not, K-Mac took exception to it. And I think that's fine. I think it does, like, it's worth mentioning that it's a Commissioner's Cup game and point differential is a tiebreaker. So that's, the most, generous assignment you can get to it. But I don't have much of a problem with Wheeler doing that, but I also have no problem with K-Mac reacting the way that she did.
Right.
You don't see that in basketball games too often. And yeah, I think just that was kind of a filter for emotion that was probably frustration from that play for sure, but also just that whole game and it not, coming out in the Lynx's favor. But just kind of what did you think about just like that, exchange specifically between both teams at the end of the game there?
Yeah, I think, for me, I viewed it as more of just a frustration thing for K-Mac. I think that it just boiled over at that point in the game. I think if anything would have happened in that point, I think, it could have set her or anybody else off. But I think it's just, two, competitors and competitive teams going at it. And there's knowing the personalities on both sides, but specifically with Seattle, there is some trash talk. There's, there are players with, I mean, there is in any given game, but specifically with Seattle, they're a team that has personalities that trash talk throughout a game, and I think it just kind of it boiled over and it got under the skin, and I think if we talk to K-Mac today about it, she's going to kind of just say, yeah, it was just competitive fire, and that's it. But I don't view it go into it too much. It'll be really interesting to see these two teams battle off again and see if any of that carries over. But I mean, it's for me, from a Lynx side of things, it's great to see something like that. I want to see a team that's down by 7 or whatever it was at that point. I want to see that fire. I want to see that that they're kind of pissed off essentially, and I love to see that because this means something to them. This means they didn't just throw it in at that point. They could have just, folded and said, all right, on to the next one. No, they weren't going to do that. They were fighting till the very end. And that's what a championship team does. And that's what a very talented and veteran heavy team does. And that's what Minnesota is. So yeah, I don't look into it too much. But I thought it was kind of funny how on the TV broadcast, you could see after K-Mac was kind of going back and forth or kind of yelling or kind of letting some steam off. They showed Cheryl Reeve, and Cheryl was saying something too, kind of backing up a player.
Yeah.
And K-Mac comes up to her, and I don't know if it was on purpose, but they like chest bumped. Or
I saw that. Yeah. Yeah.
And I was just, you could just tell like they were both heated, and
Right.
and that's, I mean, I love seeing that. I love seeing the competitive edge. I love the trash talk. I love everything that goes into all of that, because that's, like I said, it just shows players are caring, and this means a lot to them.
Right. And it's, to send that message to, like, you're not gonna be out here showing me up
Right.
in garbage time. Again, yeah, that layup attempt, waning seconds, shot clock turned off. You can't just, hold it, run the clock out. And I mean, I'll say it again. The point differential does have a factor here, but still,
Yeah.
so I think that can be a net gain of a technical foul. Like sometimes coaches will either get tossed from a game, which is a more extreme, but just get in the ref's ear and get a technical foul to either kind of turn the tide a little bit, either from an officiating standpoint or to get your players' attention kind of standpoint. Like,
Right.
You'll see that in baseball a lot too, where a manager goes out to dispute an umpire with like the intent of like getting thrown out, and just having that moment that like shakes up a game. So if the Lynx come out on Saturday morning and are up 30-15 against the Sparks after the first quarter, I'll be like, see, it boiled over from
Yeah.
the end of the Seattle game. And if it doesn't happen that way, then we just never mention it again. And yeah, so
And I do think they'll come out with a fire. Especially against LA and just kind of everything that goes into that game. I do think they're going to come out
for
firing
sure.
in that game.
And there is, people can roll their eyes at in-season tournaments all they want, but even beyond just like the financial incentive, if there's a trophy
Yeah.
or just a win up for grabs at any competition, this team wants it. And so
Mm-hmm.
now the waters of defending the Commissioner's Cup are a little bit murky. With Seattle is now also 3-1 in Commissioner's Cup play this season. And the standings, it's head to head tiebreaker first and then point differential. So Minnesota still has Seattle pretty comfortably in the point differential department. Uh, but Seattle's got that head to head. So the Storm have to play their two remaining Commissioner's Cup games on the road, at Golden State and at LA. We are, of course, at a point where anything can happen, and we
Mm-hmm.
just saw the Valkyries beat the hell out of the Aces at Chase Center. So they could, do the Lynx a favor. If the Lynx take care of business their next two games and the Valkyries get the Storm, then the Lynx are going back to the Commissioner's Cup
Mm-hmm.
final, as they did last year when they had one close loss at Phoenix, and that was good enough to make it. So
Mm-hmm.
this team wants that bag. They want that trophy. They want to stamp another year onto that Commissioner's Cup banner that's in Target Center. So it'll be interesting to see how that unfolds. I kind of love the Commissioner's Cup,
I
Loki. I
do
never
too.
thought I was actually going to, but also soccer fan, so things like the FA Cup and in season tournaments are just a little bit my jam.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's grown on me. I wasn't a huge fan right away, but they've they've tweaked things a little bit, and I
yeah,
think that it's for the better. And I think players enjoy
mhm,
it. But it's something entertaining to watch. Even if your team's not in the running for a playoff spot, they can still be in the running for a Commissioner's Cup. I mean, whatever. I mean,
right,
more often than not, it's kind of hand in hand and it ties together. If you're not playing well, you're not going to be in the final anyway.
for
But
sure,
no, it's fun to have something else other than just thinking about a WNBA title. Have
right.
that in season.
And I think the format of it has changed or has
Yeah.
improved each year.
Hmm.
Um,
I agree.
on the game still, there's one thing, a couple more things I want to bring up. The first is the Storm are also a pretty damn good team when it comes to ball movement. I think the
Hmm.
Lynx kind of set the standard. They set the assist ratio record last year and are on pace to break it.
Hmm.
But last night in the Storm, and this is a case of them hitting a ton of shots. Uh, they had 30 total assists to the Lynx 25. And in the first meeting between these teams, the Lynx won at Target Center. The Storm had an advantage in the assist category in that game as well. Not a big one. I believe it was 20-18 that night, just a different kind of game. But when you get a team that sort of has the size advantage with you and is also a really good ball movement team, it's presents just challenges at every level, and I think that kind of went into it a little bit last night. And it's not often, and I still, the Lynx had a higher assist percentage still of their made
Hmm.
baskets last night, but it was a little bit, it's kind of just feeling like Seattle's night. They're just not going to miss. But also, you got to give credit where credit's due. That's another good ball movement team over there, especially with Diggins and Gabby Williams, uh, phenomenal passers themselves. Just kind of, what
Hmm.
did you think about how Seattle moved the ball in the face of one of the best ball movement teams in
Yeah.
history?
Well, I mean, I think I view it as it's kind of it goes hand in hand with what I was talking about earlier with, just them shooting the ball well. That's a reason for it. They find the open person every single time. And it's impressive to watch. It's great basketball to watch. As a basketball fan, I absolutely love seeing that kind of movement, whether it's Minnesota or Seattle. It's just fun basketball to watch, and more often than not, you get higher percentage shots as a result. And that's
50 points in the paint. Yeah,
yeah,
that'll do that.
yeah. And I wonder too, off of that, I wonder how Jess Shepard would have helped in
Right.
that
That
area.
was my next question. So we can just talk about
Yeah,
Jess's absence now.
well, I mean, like she does so well with not only being a presence in the paint, but deflections, getting into, passing lanes, all of that stuff. She moves around well. I wonder if, if that would have, I mean, I obviously her not being there, if she would have been there, she would have helped in any regard. But I wonder specifically with that, if she would have helped in that area. And, you know, that is one thing that, you kind of touched on. Minnesota's not a huge team. They're, when it comes to points in the paint, like most of the time, it's either close or the other team has the advantage just because Minnesota plays more outside. They pass they move the ball around really well, kind of 5-out style, and they just like to run. And a lot of other teams are the exact opposite, where they kind of work out or inside out. And it seems like they I don't know. What I'm getting at is there's that's something that Minnesota I think needs to focus a little bit more on, whether that's focusing on Alana Smith or maybe it's a Jess Shepard or something like that. Just getting a little bit more action inside. That's only going to open things up on the outside. But to go back to your point with Seattle, like they're a tough team. They wear you down too, and that's I think part of what we saw is they're a hard team to defend, especially when they're moving the ball like that. They're a hard team to defend for 4 quarters. And I think it just kind of got to a point in the fourth where Minnesota just kind of ran out of steam, or Seattle was clicking at the same time, and it just kind of that was kind of a recipe for disaster for Minnesota, and not able to climb back into things. I mean, it was. I mean, you look at the final score; it was obviously a 10-point game, but this game was neck and neck. It was back and forth the entire time, with the exception of obviously at the end of the game. But
Right.
It's definitely a good learning loss or learning opportunity for Minnesota, and I think they'll only get better from here on out after having something like that happen.
Yeah. And of all teams, the only team in the league that takes a higher amount of attempts from inside the 3-point line in this league are the Dallas Wings.
Mm-hmm.
The Storm average 48 field goal attempts from 2-point range per game, and when you're hitting threes, well, they don't shoot a ton of threes, but they shoot them at a pretty good clip as well, and they were even better than they normally are last night. That just opens everything up.
And when you have a Gabby Williams and Eric Wheeler playing like that too, I mean that's tough because you end up having a 4-headed monster at that point with Nneka Ogwumike and Skylar Diggins.
Right.
But that Gabby Williams specifically and Eric Wheeler last night, but Gabby Williams over the last 3 or 4 games, she's just playing phenomenal.
Right. Well, and the Gabby on defense was a nightmare last night, and she had 3 steals in the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was an early possession that started the fourth quarter on a run for the Storm where she just turned over, I think it was Smith or Carlton, and had a pick 6 the other way. And then bookended with her messing with completely just blowing up the Lynx' inbound play after their final timeout that pretty much sealed it. She was everywhere, and it was kind of like a type of free safety. You're like ranging cornerback that a quarterback just not planning for, and somehow they're just everywhere. She was everywhere last night and played really well all night, but especially in that fourth quarter, she was just terrorizing. But
which was great to see, by the way. I love to see her getting her opportunity and thriving in that as well.
Right. So I think the Storm had a very up and down start to this season, but they showed last night, when they're on, and there's a lot of talent on that team. There's a lot of experience on that team. Trying to think about who would be the next, best competition in the Western Conference with who the hell knows what's going on with the Aces right now.
Well, right.
I think it's this Seattle and Phoenix are kind of the teams to watch, in my opinion. Especially Phoenix getting healthier finally.
Yeah.
They there's a lot. There's some late drama in that game, in their game with Dallas last night too. Fun night in the WNBA, as it always is.
Yeah. Phoenix has been a surprise to me, especially with their injuries, and the fact that they've been able to do well despite that. I mean, now that they're getting healthy, you get an Alyssa Thomas back, and I mean, they were 6-3 or something like that with Alyssa Thomas missing most of the games. Right. And I mean, you get her back. Obviously, that's a very welcomed return. But yeah, I think later on we're going to see them continue to improve as the season goes along. But they've been a surprise to me so far.
Right, they're at 7-4, which is more than just treading water until your stars get back. And that wasn't a great performance from them at Target Center, but yeah, I mean that's Minnesota, Phoenix, Seattle, all classic Western Conference contenders. And don't get me wrong, this isn't me completely writing off the Aces. If they come back and make a run, if they've played 8 games, they've got 36 to go. But I think we have approached bigger than just a small sample size territory, and it'll be interesting to see how they respond. All right, looking ahead, Saturday, Sparks at home, a team you've already beaten, a team you should beat. What are kind of your expectations for this game? First day game, or first true early day game of the year. It feels like, so noon Saturday at Target Center. I'll get there early, have breakfast, and have some pregame chats in the AM, and then tipping off right at noon.
And then you can listen to this for happy hour I guess it's not happy hour on Saturday, but
any hour is happy hour.
Well, that is
it's
true.
Where Lynx basketball is always on special, Mitchell. So it's like Alan Jackson said, it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Absolutely.
There's probably not I don't know if any of the downtown bars have happy hour deals on Saturday afternoons, but we can find one for sure.
Yeah, well, people can just listen to this Friday during happy hour. How about that?
Exactly.
But no, I think when it comes to the game on Saturday, I kind of hinted at it a little bit earlier. I think that Minnesota will respond in a big way, not only for the fact that LA is not one of the best teams in the league. Wouldn't say that they're struggling, but they're not doing that great to start the year, towards the bottom half of the WNBA standings, or towards the bottom, I should say. But I do think Minnesota will respond in a big way. This team typically responds well from a loss, especially like what we saw in Seattle. I do expect them to bounce back. And one thing we've seen too with this team, over the last, I don't know how many years, and we've had a lot of celebratory events like they'll see on Saturday with SEIMONE Augustus being recognized for her Hall of Fame honors. But one thing that we've seen is they rise up for games like that, specifically for games like that. And I think that we'll see the exact same thing here on Saturday. And I would expect Minnesota winning by double digits for sure. I don't think it'll be really close at all. And I do think that they'll bounce back in a big way.
Yeah, you can't have a clunker with Money Moan
in
the house.
No, maybe she'll suit up and get out there.
Maybe, yeah. As
2 of her former teams.
Exactly, it's the SEIMONE Bowl. Although thinking of it in those terms elevates her 1 year as a player at the Sparks and 2 years as an assistant coach to like the same level as her Lynx tenure. So I'm not going to publicly though I did SEIMONE and I do talk about that a little bit in our conversation. I think you do, not that they necessarily need a get right game, because it's like you said, it's one loss, but this team last season responded well to games like this, and
Mm-hmm.
there's not a ton of losing streaks with this group, not even many back-to-back losses. So I think you see a team come back, take care of business. Though I do think there's been the Sparks just beat the Aces. I feel like I'm unintentionally just dragging the Aces, a team the Lynx haven't even played yet. I'm not trying to be an asshole, I promise. But the Sparks did just get a big win. They lost Rakia Jackson there for a couple games. She's back and playing really well. So it's like there are no easy nights or easy afternoons in the W. And I know people will elevate this game maybe to even bigger importance because it's a Commissioner's Cup game and the team's coming off a loss. But
Mm-hmm. And there's one thing that you can put money on, in that Cheryl Reeve will have her team ready to go against the Sparks.
oh, absolutely.
That is one thing. I mean, any team, but specifically LA, that's all business, all business.
Right. Yeah, I am fully expecting a complete bounce back, and it was also like you mentioned, like earlier in the season they were playing without K-Mac, which obviously is not ideal.
Mm-hmm.
And she's been fantastic the last couple of games, and seeing Bridget Carlton's offense perk up a little bit is a great sign, as you mentioned. And not to like belabor that point, I thought Bridget was playing well early in the season as well, and just is such a great team defender, a good one-on-one defender, and just is a player who's always doing the right thing, which it's underrated in this world
Yes.
of just looking at how many threes people are hitting, especially when you are known as a 3-point shooter like Bridget. But her shot falling a bit better, and I think she was 2 for 4 in the previous game in Dallas. So it's a good sign, and like that's trending upwards a bit, and I think we'll kind of see more of that 3-point explosion from two of the team's deadliest snipers, who
Right.
had historic seasons last year and are in line to replicate that success this year.
Yeah. Yeah, that is one thing, going back to Bridget Carlton, like she hasn't played like we saw her last year yet. I mean, maybe the game against Seattle is a little bit more of like what we saw last year, but
Right.
if she can get back to that level, I mean,
Mhm.
that's obviously going to help this team. And you throw in Carly Samuelson too, coming off the bench, like
Yeah,
that's a
that's
good
where,
duo to have.
and in the way, I thought T had another good game off the bench last night,
Yep.
and she's become pretty reliable, or has always been reliable, but is even more so now. Uh, Harley not having a great game last night, or at least a game in which Cheryl felt it necessitated more than 7 minutes of playing time, is tough.
Mm-hmm.
Without, not that like Jess is a different kind of player, but someone who's not a guard needs to have a good game off the bench.
Yes.
And both, other than T, it was Alyssa Peely for 5 minutes, Carly for 7 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
and that was it. And I
Yeah.
know there was a game, decent part of the schedule. They had an extra day in between the last game against Dallas, and now they have an extra day in between this game against Seattle. It can get a full day of rest in, a full practice day in before playing. But yeah, someone, whether it be Peely or Samuelson or Klindikova, uh, or Diamond or Ola,
Mm-hmm.
everyone's eligible for this. There needs to be some effective play from not T. Someone besides T has to play well off the bench, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
need to ramble around that point, but
And
someone
more
besides T needs to contribute off the bench in a meaningful way.
and more importantly, they just need somebody to be consistent, like T has been. They just
Yeah.
need a consistent, contributor that will go a hell of a long way. But even just in spurts, even if it's 2-3 minutes at a time, like you just come in and kind of like what Bridget Carlton was before she came into the starting lineup. Like just have somebody like that that's consistent. You know what you're going to get when they come in and play 15 minutes a game.
Yeah.
And yeah, they need that they need to establish that to go along with T.
Right. So you're not freaking out about a loss.
No.
Is that the fans can rest easy knowing that Mitchell is not worried.
Well, I mean, 43-1 is still pretty good. I mean,
43-1 is still
if you
pretty
make
good.
that happen.
I'm glad. Well, maybe if I had done this, it would have been the juju needed to tip the scales in the Wings' favor. I was ready to give you some shit on social media because the Lynx have been number 2 in your power rankings all
They
year.
have been.
And I was gonna say Mitchell Hansen ranked the Lynx #1 challenge. Go. And I ended up not making that post publicly, and then the Lynx lost. So I think me not putting faith in that was the negative energy that contributed to this first loss of the season.
The
And
only
for that, I
only
apologize to everybody.
the only reason why I did put New York first is, defending champs. They're both undefeated. New York's playing a little bit better, I think, but
The schedule's been a little bit easier. Like
that is 100% true.
People be like, well, the Lynx are undefeated, but second easiest schedule of the season so far. And then they stop there without adding that the easiest schedule of the season, it has been New York.
Yeah.
They've had more blowouts. And at the beginning of the year, I think you and I were in lockstep where I was like, yeah, I'll put the Lynx at 2 because, you put the defending champs at 1, and it's not like they lost a lot. And they've, yeah, I'd say they haven't given any reason not to be in that spot, but I don't think the Lynx are in danger of dropping from 2 in your very important power rankings just yet.
The highly anticipated power rankings, but no, they I think are still firmly in 2.
Good. People, thank God.
Everybody can just relax now. Well,
everyone can relax. That'll be fine. In the finals, guaranteed. But yeah, the next Lynx back at it in their penultimate Commissioner's Cup game, Saturday at noon. CBS game.
CBS,
like big CBS.
Heck
like
yeah.
like not CBS Sports Network. This is on CBS. So
Bringing in the big guns.
First game of a 2-game nationally televised doubleheader that did Liberty play at Indiana at 2 Central Time. As this conversation is happening Thursday, June 12th. No WNBA games tonight, but Commissioner's Cup back in action Friday
Which is
night.
weird, by the way.
Exactly.
But there's no Thursday night games, and there was one Monday.
Yeah.
And then all the Wednesday games started at 9 or 10 o'clock Eastern.
Yeah. And there's games where, I'm not going to get into this.
Yeah. we can host our own.
I was about to say something I was going to maybe regret. But
we could have an hour segment on just the scheduling, I think.
Yeah. And just throw people under the bus left and right. Yeah. But anyway, tomorrow, Friday, Chicago Sky at Atlanta Dream for the real WNBA draft sickos. It's might be more fun scoreboard watching when the Chicago Sky are at the Dream tomorrow night and thinking about the 2026 draft and what that pick might turn into. Yeah. Also, Wings at Aces in Western Conference Commissioner's Cup play, and I don't think. Well, the Aces, everyone could still. No one. The Wings are the only team that's been eliminated from being the Western Conference representative. I think everyone else could still do it mathematically.
I think you're right. Yeah.
So I'm saying it if the Aces lose to the Wings, because apparently this is an Aces negativity podcast now. If the Aces lose to the Wings at home tomorrow night, it's officially something's wrong.
Yeah.
I think that's fair to say. I'm not trying to be a hot take artist here. I think if they lose that game at home and are under 500, 9 games into the season, sort of just under the quarter mark, not saying anyone should be fired or cut or practice facilities should be burned down, but it's beyond just the it's just the beginning of the season, kind of thing. So,
which surprises me, by the way. I'm very surprised by that. I thought they would, kind of pick up where they left off, especially you add a Jewel Lloyd that's, that's specifically on offense that can provide about the same as what Kelsey Plum did, but it just the fit seems odd right now. I don't know what it is. Jewel Lloyd's going to struggling to find her footing with the new team, and
Right.
I don't know. It's just it's weird because we're used to seeing them as a for sure top 3 offense in the league, and they're like what 6th, 7th or something like that right now. They're
I can
towards the
tell you,
middle of the
I've got-
pack or bottom half.
They
But
are they are 8th.
They're 8th. Okay.
In
Well,
points per game, they're 8th.
yeah. But I mean that part surprises
If points
me. Like
if points are a
defense,
stat you care
whatever.
about.
Well,
I
right.
know in this age of analytics.
Yeah. But
This-
it's just the most concerning part is just their offense just doesn't look as good, and it's surprising.
They're
It is kind
last-
of concerning.
They're last in the league in field goal percentage.
Yeah.
Kind
Which
of
when you have
those
those style of play, like you have that 4 that's in Las Vegas, there's no reason for that. That shouldn't be happening.
they're dead last in assists per game.
Wow.
It's 16.3. They're averaging like 8 fewer assists per game than the Lynx are.
Wow. Jeez.
Should we just look at this? Is a fun part of the podcast. Let's just look up bad stats of other teams and talk shit. Like in real time, like, oh, look at this ranking.
Why not?
Is that what the people want? I don't think that's what the people want, but we can do it. Mitchell, thank you as always.
Mm-hmm.
I know you're at your a real job and need to get back to doing that. So thanks for taking some time with me this morning, and see you again soon. Are you making the trip down to the cities this Saturday?
I won't be. I'll be I'm out of town this weekend for Father's Day, but I'm hoping to get down there soon. But one of my colleagues at Canis Hoopus will be down there. Ryan, he'll be down at the game.
Oh, nice.
But
Awesome.
I will not be down there on Saturday, unfortunately. But hopefully it's another one, and we'll have to catch up at that time.
For sure. All right, Mitchell, anything else to plug?
No, I mean, just hitting the hardwood. Just keep, listening to obviously this podcast, Hitting the Hardwood podcast. Check out Hitting the Hardwood, and in the podcast network. A lot of really cool stuff.
Patreon's great.
Patreon.com/Hitting the Hardwood. That's where you get some exclusive content from Terry and I. Support it any way you can. Would be greatly appreciated, because then we can keep doing this podcast more. But appreciate everybody that's been supporting so far, and looking forward to continuing.
For sure. And you are at Mitchell Hansen on the socials.
I'm M_Hansen13, and Hansen is Hansen. So M_Hansen13. You can follow me to see me spew off some random nonsense.
It's always fun kind of nonsense, though.
It is fun nonsense, I think. At least I think I'm my biggest fan. I think I'm hilarious, but
I'm up there. And I think Simone Augustus might be as big a fan of your work as you are of Simone Augustus's work. I didn't ask, but that would be the top of the resume. Any kind of Simone Augustus endorsement. All right. Well, thank you so much, Mitchell. This has been fun, and see you again soon.
You bet. Sounds good. Thanks, Terry.
Thank you again to the Hall of Famer, Simone Augustus, Lynx Immortality. So happy we got to have Simone on the show. Thank you again to my friend and colleague, Mitchell Hansen. Go follow all of Mitchell's work. Join the Hitting the Hardwood Patreon. Like and subscribe to the Hitting the Hardwood podcast. Thank you, as always, to our presenting sponsor, Pence Homes. And more important than everyone and everything, thank you, listener. The reason we're here, the reason we've put together this podcast for Lynx basketball is always on special. You Lynx fans are our favorite people on the planet. Thank you for supporting the show so much so far. Thank you for listening. Thank you for stopping me. You see me at Target Center to say what up and to say that this podcast doesn't totally suck. I appreciate that very much. And thank you for being as locked in and ready to discuss Lynx basketball as you always are. I'll see you all at Target Center Saturday, high noon, tip-off. The Simone Augustus Hall of Fame game. Commissioner's Cup. Still a couple games to play. Let's get back to that final. Let's have a lot of fun doing it. Thank you again, Lynx fans. You've been Terry Horseman. You have been amazing. Can't wait to see you all again here next week for another episode of Lynx Happy Hour, where Lynx basketball is always on special. Have a great weekend, everybody.